Welcome to Bucket Team, and it is opening night in the NBA, and we had two games that I was really looking forward to watching, man. We had the Knicks going up against Boston, and Minnesota taking on the Lake Show. Let's go, man.
We are back, baby. We are f***ing back. We are back. Yeah. Classic. We are back. That's we are back.
Before we get into it, guys, if you want to support the channel and join the Bucket Team, you know exactly what to do. Hit that subscribe button down there and turn on notifications, because this is going to be a fun ride. And I got nothing without you guys, so let's build this thing the right way. Let's get it, man. So I had a list of questions coming in tonight for both of these games, and I was curious just to see how they'd get, or if they'd even get answered. And I know, it's just one game, but hey, I mean, it's what we do. We're going to talk about it. The Boston 3 party was in full effect, and after the first quarter, oh my goodness, they were on a 170-point pace. So, yeah, spoiler alert, Boston still beats you the same freaking way. I must admit, however, Jrue Holiday's defense never ceases to amaze me. He was forcing turnovers left and right. He's got Cat on him, who's like a whole foot taller than him, and he isn't phased at all in the slightest. Oh, and not to mention, he was bombs away on the other end, too. This felt like Golden State when they would just shoot you out of a game by the middle of the third quarter or some shit like that. Like, this was an all-time heater. Or, I guess, tied for an all-time heater. Tatum was cooking from the start. He had 15 in the first. I think he had 25 at the half. And when a couple threes just start going down for Boston, it's just so contagious. It's like, yeah, they just went absolutely unconscious and might as well be in mid-season form, truly. I mean that. Hey, yo, shout out to Deuce McBride for putting in the work in the minutes he had. That was the best part of the Knicks night by far. The Knicks did not have a bad offensive game. Let me just make that very known. Like, they shot over 60% for most of this game, and yet they just couldn't contain the perimeter whatsoever. I personally think the perimeter weapons on the Celtics have mastered the driving kick to just about perfection, and there's nothing you can do about it if you can't keep your man in front of you, and the Knicks just couldn't. Also, I don't know about y'all, but from my perspective, I saw the vast majority of the question marks I had coming into this game on the Knicks side of things, because they really shuffled the deck while Boston stayed, I guess, pretty true to their championship roster. The first question was one that I didn't plan on having, but after recent events, we're going to talk about it for a second. The Mikal Bridges jump scare, along with the stinking up the joint during preseason, had a lot of people in New York panicking. And rightfully so, man. A portion of Knicks fandom was saying, "Oh, give us our picks back. He's cooked. Mikal Bridges." Dude, there's literally a hitch in it now. It's got the remnants of freaking Bill Cartwright in a soccer throw. Apparently, this man has been trying to fix his shot for 7 years and to no avail. But if we're being for real, he had a solid, high-level shot form like last season. 37% is not bad. Like, that's not bad. And these are tough shots, too. He was the star player of the Brooklyn Nets. He had the most defensive coverage on him. I don't know why he felt the need to change his shot, but yeah, it is what it is. And to be fair, though, he did kind of recover in the second half. All I'm saying is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, have never been more truer words than in this moment right now. There was a moment when Mikal took that technical free throw at the start of the second half. I think the whole crowd audibly gasped, like, they got to get this thing handled pronto. I wanted to see how Cat's defense would hold up in the center position for the Knicks. That is extremely scarce. Obviously, the spacing on the floor and nobody crowding the paint for a guy like Jalen Brunson is the biggest boost that he adds for the team. But his defensive impact has kind of been inconsistent over the course of his career, and they've got to be able to hold their own, defending at that position. I think the biggest reason why they pulled the trigger to get Cat in the first place was because not only to give them spacing, the option to go 5 out, but more specifically, it takes the matchups of Porzingis out of the paint. It takes guys like Derek Lively out of the paint, Gobert out of the paint. Oh, and speaking of Gobert, he actually just got like a 3-year, $110 million extension like 10 minutes before the game. I saw it as a Shams notification on my phone. Yeah, quite impeccable timing there from the Gobert agent. I don't know his name. You saw what happened when they took Derek Lively out of the paint in the finals. You know, the defense had to collapse. You know, there was no anchor in the middle to hold the fort down. And Cat was sound offensively. I liked the variety of shots he was taking. They were good shots, but none of it matters. Only questions for Boston was, you know, that I still kind of wonder for the long term, what can Xavier Tillman evolve into during KP's absence? Is the shot that he was making in practice something to put stock into, or is that a year away? We don't know. Tonight did not look like it. I'm not investing after tonight. Luke Cornett, however, had the grand majority of those backup minutes, and he was great. I thought he did a great job. People thought, would there be a championship hangover, or would they just hit the ground running again? Well, that one got answered pretty damn quickly. Honestly, this could be something dynastic, but hey, just one game. Moving on to the Lakers-Wolves matchup, which was on everybody's mind since the halftime mark of the Celtics game, and it was better. AD was the star of the night with 36, and he was going to work inside the arc, you know, drawing fouls, grabbing boards, the things that we've really come to expect from him. Rui Hachimura was aggressive to start this game, and he looked great. And I think it set a good tone for LA, not to mention a couple posters too. Jackson Hayes was an impact player out there, especially in the minutes that Gobert was out of the game. Frankly, the minutes without Gobert for the Wolves were really concerning. And just like, I don't know, man, I hate saying that a team like didn't want it enough, but that's kind of what their effort level reflected for the grand majority of this game until about the fourth quarter when things got interesting. And LA went on a run in the second, and that took the lead all the way up to double digits because they couldn't rebound and they turned the ball over. That run gave Austin Reeves and Dalton Knecht some shine, which, by the way, I want this Dalton Knecht guy to be so good so badly. It's fun to watch, man, and that was a hell of a performance in the preseason against the Suns. And if he can be an impact player this year, you got to give it up to Rob and gang for pulling the trigger on him on draft night. To me, it seemed like a no-brainer. I think to most people it seemed like a no-brainer, but clearly something or some bad info was making the rounds before the draft, because I know a lot of teams that passed on Knecht that could use a Knecht right now. The Bronny and Braun moment was actually, I thought it was super wholesome. The mic'd up section caught a nice convo between the two before they got in the game, and then when they came in, the crowd, they really embraced the moment, and all that's great. And then JJ was like, all right, we're done. Bronny, get the frick out of here. I mentioned Austin Reeves a little earlier, but he was all over the place, like in a good way. He even out-rebounded Gobert on a couple possessions, which is honestly unacceptable for Minnesota. Minnesota was the other half of the blockbuster Cat trade that nobody saw coming, and I would assume this was the question that most people had on their mind during the preseason coming into this game, but how will the spacing work with Randall inserted into the lineup? I think Dante's a hooper. He'll be just fine. There will be less of an adjustment period for him, but you know what, to be honest, it's too early to give an answer on that right now, just because they're very much still trying to figure out a lot of stuff, and that game did not look like they had it figured out in the slightest, so they've got to get back to the drawing board and figure stuff out for sure. To bring Lake Show back down to reality for a little bit, the biggest storyline coming into this game was Braun and Bronny, but don't let that fool you into thinking there's no pressure right now. Please don't. First of all, their best player is a 40-year-old. His co-star is injury-prone, and their head coach has one game of experience, and the expectation is a championship. What could go wrong? But hey, what a night. The offseason was brutal, and August was brutal, but we're back, baby. We are back, and it's good to be back, y'all. We'll see you in the next one.